The rain was starting to come down hard as I ran through the streets. I could still hear the sound of the crowd that had gathered during all of the commotion as I continued to run as fast as my legs would allow. I could feel a violent burning sensation above my right knee and stopped in a small alley behind an off-license. Feeling the burning pains intensify, I bent over and reached for my knee. My hand was met by a thick liquid, warm to the touch. I looked down and realized that the liquid was my own blood as it flowed from a gash in my thigh. The blood poured down my leg. I knew that I could not stay in the streets much longer. People would notice the blood and would begin to question me as to what had happened. If truth be told, I myself do not know. The events of the evening all took place so quickly, I have yet to properly process things in my own mind, if such a task is even possible. Feeling my leg begin to numb through the pain and the blood loss, I doubted whether or not I would be able to continue. My decision was made for me as I heard the shrill siren of a police car. I peered out into the street and watched as a white object with blue flashing lights flew past at incredible speed. I slowly emerged from my hiding place, checking that there was no one around to see me. I glanced up at the sign above the off-license. I recognized it. I listened again to the sounds of the city. The panic was beginning to spread. Time was limited and my leg was slowly losing its use. I had to act fast. There was no other option. I ran down the street. I arrived at my destination and pounded on the door. It opened for an instant, long enough for me to see the person behind it. Then it closed again. I began to panic. What else could I do? I turned my back to the door and looked down the street, which was still empty despite the chaos I had seemingly caused. I turned around to see the door wide open, a body standing beneath its frame. Before it could say anything, I ran for the door and pushed the body to one side. I ran into the kitchen. The front door was closed and locked behind us. Unable to lift my leg by sheer willpower, I picked it up with my hands and placed it onto the sink so that I could wash the blood away from the torn flesh. As I pressed a wet cloth to my wound, I could feel a set of eyes burning a hole into the back of my head. "What are you doing here?" A question I was fully expecting. "I have nowhere else to go, at least not in this state." The figure drew closer. A hand met my leg, moving the cloth, and gently the fingers opened up the wound. "That's a nasty cut. How did you get it?" "I don't know." "How can you not know?" A question asked emphatically as the hand placed the cloth back across the wound and applied pressure in an attempt to stop the flow of blood. "I don't remember what happened." I looked at the person whose house I had invaded, only now seeing the feminine curves of her body as a strip of light came through a window. I looked at her face. Instead of seeing beauty, I saw menace. I saw her eyes appearing red in the moonlight, staring directly into mine, searching for answers. She turned away from me and picked up a remote control. The television lit up in a blaze of light. For the first time I could see my entire body. My leg wasn't the only part of me that was covered in blood. My chest was painted red as well. I felt for the source of the leak. I couldn't find it. It was impossible for the blood from my leg to reach my chest in the way that it had. This blood was not mine. It belonged to someone else. "What have you done?" Her voice softer now. I looked at the screen of the television for the first time and froze. I thought I was dreaming. I poked my leg to make sure I was awake, that the pain was real, and then I read the headline again. "Breaking news. Prime Minister brutally murdered in hotel room."